I've been involved in this place for near 20 years. We're going on our 20th anniversary in November. So I was a music journalist for years. Started off at the Review Appeal as a cub journalist. I mean, actually, my journalism career started at the Tennessean as a copy boy when I was like 15 years old, you know, driving up there with a hardship. But got into, went from cub reporter to managing editor, and started doing photography at that time, and started covering music events, and shot Bonnaroo for 17 years, you know. Then started freelancing, working for, various publications around the country, national, international publications, and you know, just that world alone got me exposure to lots of different musicians, lots of different bands, and I've met so many people over the years that I was basically freelancing for years after most publications shuttered. So, I mean, I was in little junky bands, backyard bands, but nothing serious that way. It's hard to get me to, you know, sit down and play any music these days. I was a kid of the 70s, so, you know, all the good stuff was out on vinyl then. And now I've got a record shop next door, so it's hard not to be a hoarder of music at this point, you know. Well, Kimbro's was originated by a guy named Ron Kimbro, hence the namesake. I grew up in this neighborhood. I grew up on 2nd Avenue, live on 1st, and Kimbro's open between 2nd and 3rd. So these are my old stomping grounds, and I heard that there was a guy that opened up a music venue, or a bar / music venue. And so we were all having basically Kimbros at my house every night because we had multiple bands, musicians, kind of a bohemian culture hanging out at the house all the time. And I was very glad. I had a young son. He was probably, well, he's 26 now, so he's about 6 years old. And someone said, they've opened a new place right around the corner. And I said, we're all going. So I took the whole party over to Kimbro's, and he had probably his best sales day of record at the time. So that was 2005 was when he opened it, and a close friend of mine, Britton Davis, and I decided to start bartending for him just for fun. I was still doing the music journalism pretty heavily, and then at some point he just said, hey guys, would you want to buy in? And we went to Hawaii. Neither one of us really wanted to do anything like that. We were both pretty happy with what we were doing. We went to Hawaii. We were both lying on the beach. We had an epiphany, as things happen when you're in Hawaii, and watching the sun come up, and we both said, let's do it. So when we got back, we bought into it, and the rest is history. Those guys have since retired, and as I said, we're on our 20th anniversary now. And I've been watching a lot of the 50th anniversary of SNL, and it kind of harkens all these memories of Kimbro's and all the famous people that have played here and all the fun times and the memorable moments. You know, it can be a blur. I often will say that it's one long day, but because there's so much that's always happening here. But for example, you know, last week, Grace Bowers was in here playing with Miles Connor and some other guys, and then a couple of days later, she's either days before she was at the Grammys or days after, and then she's playing the Ryman a couple of days later. So you just never know who's going to be in here, you know. We used to have the Steel Drivers playing here all the time, and Chris Stapleton was, as everyone knows, was part of the Steel Drivers. So they were here, you know, at times once a month, you know, and Kingfish would bring him up from Clarksdale, Mississippi, and all the blues guys down there, and he used to play here quite a bit, you know, until he got so big that it's hard to get him. Now we got Jelly Roll, who only comes around whenever he can, you know, he's so busy, and you know, he comes in and buys around for everybody every once in a while still, but there's just some memorable moments. I remember, you know, Kesha hanging out in the back, or Haley from Paramore just sitting in the crowd watching, you know, Anthony Adams or something, you know, some of these guys. But we've got some guys that we think are probably on the cusp of getting so big that we don't see them again for a while, you know, but these are all friends of ours, and as far as we're concerned, you know. 2012, we opened Carpe Diem next door as a record store. It's also a little venue. We're thinking about doing pop-ups over there and that kind of thing. But Mockingbird, we opened in 2019. The former owner, Brad Kelly, became a friend, and he and his team were kind of showing me different venues around the campus there, and I just was like, man, I can't see it. It's not going to be Kimbro's. It's not what I want. It's not the vibe. And then they showed me the old Boiler Room Theater, and which they renamed Little Brick Theater, and I thought, now this could be something. We could do something fun with this. So they basically helped us get in there. We worked through it. Unfortunately, we had a real solid first year, and then COVID happened, and it shut everything down for a couple years. And since that was a venue versus a restaurant, we had to stay closed longer. So it kind of stopped the momentum, but it's been an incredible segue for musicians. You'd think that because of the layout of it, it's such a professional looking venue with, you know, very expensive sound and lighting, and you know, a nice stage. A lot of guys think they start here and then they go there and then they go somewhere else, but it's really back and forth. It's pretty event driven. So we'll just do, you know, Friends of Kimbro's pop-ups or whatever. But we've had some Sierra Farrell's played there. We've had a lot of people that you know, you wouldn't think you could grab in a small venue like that. It's max capacity is about 170 people in that room. So you got to get kind of creative to book it. I'd say one other was John Prine walking in. That's one that needs to be told, because his brother Billy used to play here all the time, and he would come in and watch every once in a while. But some buddies in his band, Richard Bailey, who plays with the Steel Drivers and also played with these guys, they created a band called the Coleslaw Brothers, which had John Prine as the lead singer. We didn't know that. And so John walks in, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's only 30 people here. And he played about, you know, 9 or 10 John Prine hits for about 30 people. And, you know, we're texting and everything, but by the time they got here, you know, it was just a special moment. Also, I think we've become an established venue of, I mean, maybe legendary status with the kind of people that have come and gone from here. I think it's on the map now. It's that it brings in tourism, and it's made its name for itself. When it comes to Nashville, I think Kimbro's does have a parallel to the venues that are similar in Nashville, like Dee's Cocktail Lounge or the Underdog or places like that, of a hard line between live music when it comes to Kimbro's in Nashville. But Franklin itself, the authenticity of the music scene is rarely supported, I guess. I think it's more tourist driven, it's seriously food heavy, but I think the live music, I'd say that we've got as much grit as they do. I think that the difference is you've got pockets of Nashville that have got different vibes. You know, you've got the Pond that has maybe a little bit more hard-edged music scene that it's a little bit more brightly lit now with darts and that kind of vibe. You've got Puckett's that's got definitely more of an acoustic singer-songwriter vibe to it. Gray's has got, I'd say, that similar vibe, you know. And then I think that our true, you know, parallel venue would be Fox and Lock. We have a lot of crossover with them. A lot of our bands play out there and vice versa. We both get those same kind of infamous or famous walkthroughs, you know, by people as fans and as musicians. I think those scenes are as authentic as it gets, you know. There's obviously the Paramore story that everyone knows, that They didn't start here at Kimbro's, obviously, but they certainly hung out here, but they are from Franklin, and that's one of the biggest household name bands you can get. There's the Taylor Swift story, obviously, and her experiences in Williamson County, and then I do a Pickin thing as well. So for the record shop next door, we buy all sorts of oddities and odds and ends, and I bought a barn sight unseen in Kentucky with a whole bunch of junk, and we had 24 hours to get it cleared out. Filled up a 30-foot truck and a couple of SUVs, didn't even know what we had. Got back, there's a box of clothes with all sorts of nasty, stains and whatever on it. And my wife was telling me, you need to throw all these clothes away, they're disgusting. And I said, nah, some of these I think we should clean up and make them, we could sell them to somebody at the shop at Carpe Diem. One day, this tall blonde comes through the shop, and she's got an entourage, and she just starts pointing at things in the store, and they're gathering them together. And she grabs one of those articles of clothing, which was a sweater that has seagulls all over it, and which ended up becoming the cover of 1989. So I didn't register that at the time when she bought it, but ended up at one of the Music Hall of Fames, and she had a towering exhibit with that sweater, and I thought, I told you that was something special, For us, we try to keep them anonymous. The people that come here and hang out, there's a lot of people. We've got a piano in the back room. We've got guitars that hang on the walls. We've got, a back patio where people hang out. I'd hate to throw names out there that might dissuade them from coming back through, but you'll hear someone jump on the piano, and like Jack White was back there one day just playing around on the piano. While there's a band in here playing, no one knows he's back there doing that. Gavin DeGraw's been back there playing before. We've got, just a lot of people that come in and hang out. We had ask Kid Rock to leave because he was playing the bongos in the patio too loud one night, We've got some infamous stories here, but most of them are pretty inclusive. There's been a handful of movies made here. Billy Ray Cyrus was here. I had Larry Gatlin. It's all those kind of secret shows that pop up that we don't really advertise. We can't even tell people that they're happening. And it's frustrating for us because we want to, say it out loud. But, I guess one other crazy time was when Pilgrimage got rained out and everyone came to Kimbro's, and I was calling up, aldermen and fire and everyone just going, please let this happen. Like, we're going to keep everyone safe, but these people have nowhere to go. And it was pretty special. I think Rolling Stone wrote us up, and I think someone named it Wilgrimage, but it was one of those moments where literally we had, rain was coming into the building, and we had our own customers mopping the place, running food. That's not unheard of. I mean, we have customers that will help with the kitchen when it gets overwhelmed, and there's obviously certain boundaries that they can't cross, but there's a lot of community here. I'd say this is one big family, The most important thing is to realize that they are people just like us, and, they might be like being engaged in a conversation about something, but they don't really want to be harassed. And I've seen it happen. There's a particular celebrity that used to hang out here all the time. Then I saw this one guy just go up and just start basically harassing him. And all we could do was just cringe and wish they would stop. And then we never really saw that person again, even though they loved it here. So I think it's important just to when they're here, when they're at any of the venues, when they're shopping here, when they're at Starbucks or when they're having dinner, that's when their off button is on. If they want to turn it on, they will, I mean, Jelly Roll is one of those guys that will come in and he'll turn his on. I mean, he'll literally buy around for people, he'll take pictures and hang out, and he'll sit out front and play music with people, There's a lot of people that don't want that. They want to keep their anonymity, and we are staunch protectors of that. We really are. Franklin knows that these people exist, and we do have a lot of new people that have come into town that might not know how things work, I guess is a weird way of putting it. But I think just kind of letting people know, hey man, let's just let them enjoy their dinner and let them be themselves. There is something magical about Franklin. I don't think there's a way to just totally put your finger on it because it's been there for a long time. It is not the nation's best kept secret anymore, it's out. And so I think that, creativity creates more creativity, and I think that comfort level we were just talking about is vital to maintaining that. You're right, there's everyone from successful photographers to worldwide painters to TV personalities to celebrities, musicians, it is a melting pot for that, for sure. This place is that perfect melting pot for that. I've had people come in from New York City looking to play music, and we're like, just hang around for a couple of hours and you'll probably meet your soon-to-be band. If you sit down and talk to somebody long enough, you're gonna probably strike up some sort of partnership by the end of the conversation, in one way or another. There's a lot of brainstorming that's constantly going on here. My inspiration did come truly from my mother and father. Franklin would not be here without their vision, flat out. My mother headed up all the revitalization of downtown Franklin. She was the president of the Heritage Foundation and then the first president of the Downtown Franklin Association. She with others created all the festivals in downtown that brought people here in the first place. Main Street wouldn't be the gym it is without her vision. It's important to remember the legacy that they left for me, and it's important for me to carry that torch for them and for my children, So I've got a 26-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter, and both of them are equally creative. They're part of the family business, and they love it as much as I do.